Hello, this is episode number 4 of the solo campaign following Miles and company. They're on the journey to resolve his issues that he's been doing with his boss, some of the errors he's made and mistakes he's made along the way. So this is to redeem himself in the eyes of his superiors. So he's brought these people around, and they're trying to make their way to retrieve the doodad that he destroyed. And they travel for several days after fighting the pumpkin monster. And unfortunately, they're running out of food. So they decide to see if they can find someplace safe to stay. And they stumble upon this pretty heavily fortified town. It's got walls and all that, but they're really surprised to find out that these people are really nice, and they're willing to take them in and give them shelter and food and all of that. So everything seems to be going great at first. Later that night, after they've had food and spirits and they've got accommodations and everything, Glot, who is the green slime person, he runs this town, he drops a bombshell on Miles and company. He goes, "Oh, you like that food, you like these accommodations, we've been super nice to you. Now you can do something for us. We need you to fix our friend." And they cart out this guy on a gurney who's raving mad. He's strapped to the bed, he's freaking out, he's cussing and screaming and spitting and wetting the bed and all of that. He's completely insane now. And Miles does not recognize him at all, but Glot explains that this guy, at some point, was a slave in the Collegium Carnum, and he needs him fixed. They were good friends, he got captured, became a slave for a while, came back a couple years later, and he's absolutely insane. And all of that is the doing of Miles and Leeler, who is his superior at the Collegium. So Miles says, "Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do to help you, so you're kind of on your own." And Glot says, "No, you're definitely going to help, or we're not allowing you to leave." So Miles decides, you know what, I'm going to buy some time. We need to rest and all that. And he says, you know what, gladly we'll help in the morning. Once we wake up in the morning, we will gladly help you fix your friend, and all will be well. So Glot takes him for his word, and they go to bed that night. Later that night, Reich awakens and realizes that Miles is not in the ruins that they were sleeping in right here. He comes out after waking up the entire gang, and they find Miles in this energy containment unit in the center of the town, and they caught Glot and his gang dragging Miles out and bringing them back to their base across town. So they immediately fight, and there is combat that ensues. There's somebody over here, and there's people, basically everybody else is visible. There's Dungeon there. And Miles is not going to be able to move at all. He's the objective this game. And we are playing Grab It, which means that there's no kill points and no interactions with Miles whatsoever. The team that has the most hit points within 6 inches of Miles at the end of the game wins. So this is going to have some pretty big ramifications. If we can't win this game, then Miles is captured, and we're going to have to get side railed a little bit to try to get Miles back. So this is going to be kind of tough. On the first turn, the first activation for us, Gil moves from around this building and charges successfully into this robot, and the robot is a dominant with his 2 minions sitting there. He slams into the side of this robot, dealing 2 unsaved damage. He gives him a face gash, impacting his willpower, and he blinds him with one of his whips, and the robot is unable to do anything back to him. The next activation is Glot, and because he's a slime person, he uses powers, and he can buff his buddies. So number 1, he's got a 6-inch barrier to throw up. He grabs his slime, he can animate it remotely, and he makes a giant barrier that will prevent Gil from moving through it. It's a movement blocking barrier. Then he also threw slime on his buddy over here and gave him an aura, so the slime will strike out at anybody in close combat. And he was also to throw more slime and form a shield of armor on top of his buddy, but that critically went off, so he was also managing to throw slime on this guy. So they're both getting +2 saves, so this is a pretty good turn for Glot. Alright, I didn't film a couple activations because absolutely nothing happened. This guy activated first, covered in protective slime. He ran from behind the well, and he was going to target Reich. He completely failed his charge. So then Lancer takes aim with her rerollable shots. She's a pistolier, and she fires twice at him, and he was able to save everything, unfortunately. Then this ranged guy, he happens to have a pistol, but he's not a pistolier. He runs from around this house and takes aim. He's got a 6-inch ranged weapon as well. He took 3 shots at Lancer, and she was able to save everything. So this is getting to be pretty hectic here. Our next activation is Reich, and do you remember how Reich dropped down in the previous mission? I think it was mission 2, and he just completely decimated someone. Well, the first thing he does on his activation as a free action is he drinks the potion of Psych Out that he's got, and that gives him 2 time slip tokens that do not go away this entire game until he uses them. And it's a one-time use item. He moves and runs around here. He charges into the pistol guy. He does 3 hits. He wraps him up with his tentacle and takes the sword and completely decapitates this pistol guy, killing him in 1 combat. And the pistol guy does nothing back to him. So we're going to get rid of the pistol guy completely, and Reich is going to have to back up so that he's not within 2 inches of this guy. But he still has both of his time slips, and he just straight out murdered the pistol guy. Our pal, actually no, the first activation was the orange robot over here. They both have flight, so it moved and ran all the way over there to get out of line of sight. Then our buddy Dunch in here. Let me see if I can get the camera in here. There you go. Our buddy Dunch in here fired at the, I'm calling him Devil Gunner over here. Remember, he's got protective slime on him, and he's mostly covered, so he had a really high save, but we were able to get 1 through, and he didn't save 1 of them. And of course, Dunch is a shredder, so he rolled 2 wound chart rolls. He broke the Devil Gunner's hand and broke some of his ribs, and he dealt 1 damage to him. So that's not too bad. After that, the green robot moved and ran as well to join its buddy around this corner and out of sight of Dunch. So the robot over here that's wounded, he just rotates. He's got nowhere to go, and right now he's out of sight of Dunch, which is where he wants to be with 1 remaining hit point. But then Devil Gunner over here, he aims and shoots at poor little Reich, and he's able to do 1 damage to him, and Reich is able to fail that save, but he's so hopped up on the Psych Out drug that he causes that save to be a success. And that is the end of turn 1. At the top of turn 2, they go first because they've lost somebody, so this duo, this double-headed guy, runs around here. He is a cavalry, so he's got a lot of movement. He uses a free action to run, and then he successfully charges into Lancer. And the aura of spikes from the ooze over there that is still on him does an unsavable damage to Lancer before combat is even done. And it also does, I believe it was a face, no, it was, hold on. It was skewered. It skewers her with a spiky thing of jello. So, she's got -2 dexterity now, and she loses a hit point. But luckily, they don't do anything to each other completely. She doesn't do anything to him, he doesn't do anything to her. And I forgot to say that we rolled on the solo event chart, and all of the enemies are going to be re-rolling hit rolls of 9 and 10 in close combat, making them better in close combat. They're all frenzied this turn. So I guess the guy with the pistol really made them mad when he died. They're like, ah! So that's what's going on. Now with our dueling snipers, I referred to my daughter Gabby, and I said, who should we activate first? And she said, you know what, Dunch should shoot at the devil over there. Now his save was nearly impossible. You see how well he's covered? His save was really, really good. I think it was an 8. So, believe it or not, Dunch hit him twice, and we rolled double 9s for this guy's saves. And he, my friend, is dead. So I cannot believe that Dunch killed him. Unfortunately, we don't get any victory points for that. Dunch doesn't get any experience because, you know, we're not doing kill points in this mission, but that was phenomenal. We did a series of activations because not a whole heck of a lot happened. This robot decided to just stay there and stay out of Dunch's line of sight. So our next activation was Reich. Reich moved and ran all the way over here as a free action and then tried to charge their boss. He needed a 5, he got a 4, unfortunately, so he failed his charge. Their next activation was the green robot right there, and it just stayed right where it was. And then our next activation was Lancer. And Lancer took 2 pot shots at the robot and did nothing. The next activation is the orange robot, who hides further around this corner. And then we have poor Gil. Gil is just going to sit there. You'll notice that the barrier makes it too narrow for him to go past the barrier to the right, and he can't get through between the building and the barrier right there to the left. And I'm afraid that if I have him run all the way around here and try to come through here, that stupid slime is just going to make another slime barrier in front of him and block him out. So I feel like this is a better choice to force him to hold that barrier up, and if he doesn't, then he's in big trouble. For our final activation on this turn, we're going to have Glot do his different jelly abilities. So first off, let's see, I'll have my daughter roll it. Let's see if he gets his willpower check 1 through 7 to get that barrier off. And he does, unfortunately, so he's going to keep that barrier right there, holding Gil back. That's actually super, super valuable for this particular mission. The next thing he's going to do is he's going to take these 2 tokens off, and the jelly just kind of falls off and sloths off this guy. And he's going to try to spike his own ooze, and he's also going to form armor. So let's do the armor, 1 through 7. And he gets it, so now he has toughened himself up, and he's going to stay out of line of sight of Dunch. And let's see if he gets the spike armor. And he also gets that. Wow, so he's got aura, and he's got protect, and he got his barrier up. So he's actually holding up the team right now. And unfortunately, this guy just lost all of his buffs. At the start of the second to last turn, we rolled worse than you thought on the solo table. So we have to pick one of our models that has already lost a hit point, which there's only one so far, and that is Lancer. And the wound is actually worse than she thought, and she has to roll on the piercing wound chart with no saves now. Oh my gosh, she loses another hit point. A natural 10 on the wound chart. She's now down to 1 hit point. I don't know what this guy did with his giant axe right here, but he really hurt her, so that's no fun. Their first activation on turn 3 is Duo. This guy over here runs, and at the beginning of the turn, we declare that we're going to use the feat that she could not be charged this turn. She turns around and screams at the guy with the axe, and he's like, oh gosh, she's crazy. So he moves his 10 inches over here and charges at poor Reich. He does nothing to Reich. I actually want to show you. He did 3 hits to Reich, and this is what Reich rolled to save, if you can believe that. Reich has a 1 through 3 save. That's a 2 is a save, a 2 is a save, and a 1 is a critical save. So Reich completely owned that combat. He turns around with his whip, and he whips Duo right in one of his 2 heads and puts him in agony, losing a hit point. So Reich, I swear, Reich and Dunch are my real MVPs here. Dunch activates next. He walks around here and jumps through the window, passing his dex check. And that's all he does this turn, but he is now within 6 inches of Miles, and next turn he's got a full turn to be laying down some firepower. The next activation finds the little green robot hopping up, because they have flight, hopping up into this building, staying out of line of sight of Dunch and Lancer, and then we decided to run Reich right into that monster guy. He rolled a 1 for his charge, so he had to spend his time slip token. I know we're being risky, but he spent his time slip token to pass that charge, and the slime could have used his feat to, because their trickery is what their ability is. So he could have used his once per game feat to move out of the way once he's charged, but we thought with the extra durability and the aura, he might be able to do something. And he was able to do something. In close combat, Reich did nothing to him, and he actually did 1 damage to Reich, which is amazing. And his spikes, let's see what happened to Reich. His spikes gave him -2 movement and -2 fight skill, which is sliced and lacerations on the wound chart roll. So he tore up Reich pretty good, and even did a damage to him. The orange robot follows his buddy right back there. They're getting ready to make that leap on the last turn and count as 2 hit points there. And then Lancer runs up, and she shoots everything she's got at that robot, and he saves everything, unfortunately. Now, he would have probably tried to charge her and just do a kamikaze because he's got 1 hit point and she does too. But remember, she used her feat this turn, saying that nobody can charge her on this turn. So that is that. Alright, at the top of turn 4, the very last turn of this game, what do we roll on the random event table but a wandering monster on a random table edge? So at the end of this turn, he's going to move 6 inches and try to charge whoever he possibly can. And that's going to be very interesting. But their first activation is Duo. He moves up, runs, and charges. He successfully charges, but does nothing to Reich, and Reich does nothing to him. The good news is for the AI team is that he's got his 3 hit points within 6 inches of this objective, and Reich no longer is. The next activation is Lancer. She aims and targets that robot, shooting everything she's got, and he saves it all. Well, actually, rather, she misses everything. She misses everything. So their next activation, they jump the little orange robot. He runs all the way over here, and he's still behind the line of sight blocking barrier from Dunch. And that is what's going on. Boy, this is upsetting. Our next activation, Reich charges into Duo. He does deal a wound to him, that's nice, and gives him agony, which is just great. But Duo completely murders Reich. Reich is going to get an insanity for this, and that is not cool. Gil comes around the corner, charges into the Duo guy that was standing right here, and takes his whips around Duo's heads and lops off both of his heads, killing Duo. Now, Gil is exactly 6 inches from the objective and will be able to count his 4 hit points towards our team. So Glot activates next, and he successfully critically casts his slime armor to protect him and the robot, and he's able to get the slime spikes on the robot, and he continues to get his line of sight blocking barrier up right here, so Dunch is not able to shoot them. Actually, for the slime armor, for the spikes, he actually had to fudge a roll and lose a hit point. But I think it was worth it because I think this robot might be able to kill Lancer this turn. Dunch moves over and can barely see this robot past that barrier. The robot had an insane save. Dunch hit him 3 times, and the little android saved it all 3 times. Then the big robot runs over here. He does a sliced and a skewered on poor Lancer, but does no damage. He hits her once successfully. She saves it with a critical one, and she is down to just 1 hit point as she was before. She's not dead. Now let's see if she can strike back at him. And her fight skill is a 4 currently. Roll again. She cannot roll on this table to save her life. Go ahead and roll over here. And she fails. She's got a 6. She normally would be fine, but she's taken so many lacerations and cuts that that's not going to fly. So she gets moved back, and now we got to tally up all the hit points. But wait a second, we still have a monster to deal with. So let's deal with the monster, and of course, poor Gil is going to be the target of that. We went ahead and moved it up 6 inches. Go ahead and roll and see if we can get a 3 to charge. See if he gets in. And he got a 7. So this monster is in the rear arc of Gil. And let's see what goes on. Now, Gil is a fighter, so he fights first. So let's see what Gil can do. He gets 2 attacks. And Gil's fight skill is a 7, so go ahead and roll 1 through 7. Got both hits. Go ahead and take that. This monster's save is a 4, so go ahead and roll. He wants low, we want high. And he fails both of them. This thing has 6 hit points, though, so this is pretty nasty. Let's see wound chart rolls for Gil. A 4 and a 2. Let's see what they are, because actually Gil does strike first, so it's actually going to matter. A 4 is dexterity, a 2 is disarmed, which is kind of nice. So this monster is disarmed, and he's not going to do any wound chart rolls against Gil, which is nice. So now he gets a base 2 attacks plus the charge, so go ahead and roll. He's -1 fight skill because we are the horror faction, and he is currently... I lost my place here. He is currently... Come on. He is currently a fighting skill of 6. So 3 attacks, 1 through 6. Ooh! So we got a 9, but we also get a critical 1, so that counts as 3 hits. Go ahead and save for old Gil. Gil is a 1 through 4. He does take 2 damage, so that is actually going to really impact... It's going to really impact our game here. And Gil really can't... Man, hold on a second. This might actually affect things big time. Because Gil has to move away 2 inches. Well, he can't move this way 2 inches. He's actually going to have to move this way 2 inches. And that is actually going to be a problem for us. So he moves that way 2 inches. And that's a serious issue. That just took him, I guarantee you, that is outside of 6 inches. We'll measure it, but I'm sure he is outside of 6 inches. And Gil is just outside of 6 inches. I cannot believe it. That is so unfortunate. So let's add up these hit points now. Okay. This is absolute ridiculousness. So Dunch is uninjured. He's got 3 hit points. And Lancer has 1. So we are at 4 victory points at the end of this game. Let's see what they are. Each one of these drones have 1 hit point. That's 1, 2. Glot is at 2, so that's 4. And then this idiot over here puts them at 5. 5 to 4, they have beat us. And you know what's even worse? Is that we would have won with Gil's 2 remaining hit points. Where's his dice over there? 2 remaining hit points if he had not got pushed back by the monster. So we would have won 6 to 5, but we ended up losing 4 to 5 because of this stupid monster. That is really upsetting, but you know what? That's a pretty darn close game. So at the end of this, you know what? Miles is still captured. So at the end of this game, they have won, and they're able to drive us away. They're going to drive us out of their town, and that is truly unfortunate. We got to embark on a rescue mission for poor Miles. And this was mission 4 of the solo campaign, and this is a loss for us. That's 2 losses, a tie, and a success. Thank you so much to my assistant, Gabby. Gabby, say goodbye to everybody. What was that? Okay, keep in mind that everyone had scored 1 victory point for the number of hit points they had within 6 inches of the objective. So they also get 1 for surviving. Dunch got 4 experience, leveled him up several times. He's worth 2 points now. His role for building, he learned how to build and then built us an extra room so we can hold 7 people. And also, he failed a scavenging roll. Gil earned 1 victory point this turn. Didn't do much about that, but he was able to inspire Reich. Reich died this mission. He had 3 insanity points. Gil was able to convince him to get off that ledge and was able to remove 1 of them with a roll of a 7. And Reich scored no victory points because he died. And Lancer was able to score 2 experience points, and that was it. She just marginally helped her connections roll. So we had several people that had injuries from this battle, so we're going to not explore, and we're just going to lick our wounds and plan on how to get our buddy Miles back. So stay tuned to mission number 5. This was very fun.